They laughed when they first saw it. A group of officers in pressed uniforms, their polished shoes reflecting the harsh light of the hall, couldn't contain their smirks. On her wrist was a faded Navy SEAL trident tattoo. To them, it looked like a joke, a woman's silly attempt to claim something she couldn't possibly understand. She heard the whispers. Wannabe, poser, someone playing soldier. But she stood there silently, her hand resting on the worn leather strap of her bag, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. What they didn't know was that this tattoo wasn't a decoration. It was a story written in scars, sacrifice, and survival. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you are watching from. I love knowing who's listening. She remembered the day she got it. Not in a bar, not on a whim, but on the dusty floor of a forward operating base overseas. It wasn't ink to boast, but ink to honor. A commander, gruff and weary from years of war, had taken her hand after a mission gone wrong. A mission where she saved men twice her size by refusing to leave them behind. "You've earned this," he said, as his knife scraped the symbol into her skin with makeshift ink. It was raw, painful, permanent. And in that moment, she felt both the weight of belonging and the loneliness of carrying a secret most would never understand. Now, standing in that sterile hall, she wanted to disappear, but she also knew she couldn't hide forever. Every whisper dug into her ribs like a blade, reminding her of the doubt she had faced since the beginning. She thought she'd never have to prove herself again. She was wrong. The room shifted when the door opened. Boots struck the floor in steady rhythm, and a presence so commanding swept in that even the arrogant laughter fell silent. It was him, the SEAL commander. His reputation preceded him. A man who had led warriors through the darkest nights. A man both feared and revered. The officers straightened their spines, their mocking grins vanishing in an instant. He scanned the room with eyes that seemed to pierce straight through steel, then locked onto her. For a heartbeat, she thought he wouldn't recognize her. For a heartbeat, she thought she was still just the outcast no one wanted to believe in. But then, without hesitation, the commander stepped forward. The air seemed to freeze as he stopped in front of her. Dust motes floated in the sunlight streaming through the windows, suspended in the stillness. And then, before anyone could process what was happening, the SEAL commander, the man others saluted with trembling respect, raised his hand and saluted her. Gasps rippled through the room. Some officers stared wide-eyed, others lowered their gaze in shame. She felt her knees weaken, her throat tighten. This wasn't just acknowledgement, it was validation. It was truth, spoken without words. He leaned close enough that only she could hear, and whispered, "Never let them doubt what you've earned." His words were steel and fire, both a command and a blessing. The laughter was gone now, replaced by silence heavy enough to crush stone. And then, slowly, like a tide breaking, a murmur of respect spread through the hall. One by one, heads bowed. The crowd that once ridiculed her now stood in reverence, not because of the tattoo, but because of what it meant. And yet, inside her heart, there was no triumph, only humility, and the memory of those who hadn't made it back, whose sacrifices were etched in every line of that faded trident. Because recognition isn't about pride, it's about honor. And honor isn't given, it's lived, day by day, choice by choice. She walked out of the hall with her head high, not because she had been defended, but because the truth had finally been seen. Because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back. The same tattoo they mocked was the very symbol that forced them to see her for who she truly was. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that respect is earned in silence and never forgotten. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell your story in the comments, because voices like yours matter here.